Now on VCA 885, where the Valley comes alive, we're covering all things sport in the Swan Valley. This is In the Sheds with Albie, Brucey and Donny.
That's right, it's Wednesday, you're in the Sheds. Geez, we're getting a bit of a delay there, aren't we?
We are a little bit, mate.
Massive delay. I'm going to take those off. You're in the Sheds. You can hit us up on Twitter at the Sheds 885. You can send us a message on Facebook or on Twitter. We've got a big show to talk about tonight, guys. Geez, that's going to throw us off all night, isn't it? This is fantastic. I've already lost the headphones. I don't know about you guys, but if you... it's kind of like watching a Japanese movie, isn't it? Where the subtitles, are, the voices aren't exactly syncing up with what my mouth is doing.
It's
right
monkey.
Now. Yeah, it's monkey. Right, we'll move on from there, guys. Big show tonight. We've got the footy's kicking off, rugby's kicking off, hockey's kicking off, soccer's kicking off, everything's kicking off. We've got Jacob Landsmeer coming on to join us on the program to discuss WAFL. As I am every week, though, I'm joined by Brucey and Donny. Gents, how are you?
Well, I won't say every week, but guys, how are we? I'm good to be back. I did listen to the program last week. Very well done. First time had the radio on. Sounded good.
Thanks, mate. Welcome to the upside down. The Gold Coast Suns and the New Zealand Warriors are undefeated and sitting in the top four. I mean, This is bizarro land that we're living in.
Can I ask a question? Have you tipped the Warriors every week?
No.
I have.
You and your bloody dartboard sitting on top of the NRL tipping comp. What's going on there?
Absolute dartboard city. I have absolutely zero idea what's going on, and there was a bit of a controversy. People just saying, if you've tipped the Warriors 4 weeks in a row, you're a dreamer.
Yeah, no, I've given up on tipping. I got 2 this week for AFL. I think 3 in the NRL. The only thing I did well in was the WAFL.
Yeah, we've seen a few people clean up on the WAFL there. I'm not sure who's going on there. I've seen a bit of the...
it's the only one you're not doing well on.
Yeah, no, Team Olashenko seems to be House Olashenko, the house of... they seem to have got that sorted. Yes, they seem to have got that sorted out. But, no absolute skill in the NRL and the AFL. Yeah, there's less to be said about that, the better.
I think Millsy scored a 5, which shows exactly how hard it is to tip in the AFL at the moment. Because he won the comp last year and pretty much said he had no idea. And it's continuing again this year. Right, I reckon we get stuck into we're going to start with the Swan Valley Football Club. They are firing up this season again, obviously, picking up round 1 against Nollamara. So this is going to be the first game with new head coach Jamie, who joined us on the program a few weeks ago. Big, hard pre-season. We've already seen the dismissal of one head coach for the third side over obviously a few issues, but one of them being that they weren't happy with the progress of the thirds team. I don't know if there is such thing as progress in a thirds team. I think you
not
just
pre-season.
No, that's it. Thirds team's kind of a rolling project that you just let it roll and just see what happens week to week. But yeah, looking forward to this one. Big game against Nollamara to open it up, and a home game at that. If you're looking for a big turnout.
It was an ordinary season, I suppose, for Swan Valley. Last year, they finished pretty close to the bottom of the table, so hoping for a better season in 2018. Nollamara, they finished 5th, so they weren't exactly setting the world on fire last year, but should be a good game. With 92-82 in one of the games they played against each other last year, but 90-44 in the most recent contest, so hopefully it's closer to that 92-82 one from earlier in the season back in 2017. Should be a good way to start the year.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing young Ollie, who's he fires up each year. Reece Mabs as well, who took out the best and fairest last year. But I'm actually looking forward to seeing Brian Lloyd, who was the head coach, playing coach last year, with this year just being able to solely focus on his football, not actually the coaching role as well. I'm expecting to see him have a pretty big season this year, and he's been hitting the gym pretty hard as far as his fitness and that goes, where he hasn't had the obligation of coaching as well. So really expecting a big season out of him this year.
Yeah, home game too, it's always nice to start with a home fixture, which should give them a bit of a leg up. So if we can get a bit of a crowd down there, cheer them on, and hopefully get them over the top of Nollamara.
No worries. Well, we're going to be back in a moment, and we will be with the Controversy Corner. We're going to go to one of our promos, which is the Checkers Golf Club. So if you're looking to have a round of golf, definitely check them out. So you like what I did with that one? Yeah, that's it.
Dear, right. We're not going to become that kind of show.
Oh, why not? Why not? All right, we'll be back after this.
On VCA 885 FM, where the Valley comes alive, this is In the Sheds. If you've got something to say about the show or something happening in your community, contact us via Facebook. Back soon.
Checkers Golf Club Bullsbrook are continuing their special half-price green fee and buggy deal for the months of April and May. If you love a game of golf, get along and enjoy 18 holes on a beautiful testing country golf course with superb greens and excellent fairways right here on your doorstep in the city of Swan. Why not book a tee time now? Just give Brian a call on 9571 1277 to arrange a time. Checkers' special capped membership rate is also still available for April and May, but conditions apply. Station sponsor.
This is In the Sheds with Albie, Brucey and Donnie on VCA 885 FM, where the Valley comes alive. It's time the boys got serious. Strap yourself in for Controversy Corner.
That's right, you're in the Sheds. You can help us on Twitter at the Sheds885. You can send us a message on Twitter. We're going to apologise. There does appear to be a 2-second delay, which is going to throw us off for pretty much most of the program. I know a professional outfit such as ourselves should be able to work through this, but I don't like change. I don't like it, so it's going to throw me off. Right, let's get stuck straight into the Controversy Corner. Donnie, big news out of the NRL with the grand final basically set to be played in Sydney until 2042.
Yeah, it's a long time, isn't it? It's I know Melbourne have got that similar sort of deal with the MCG where it's locked in for quite a long period of time. But yeah, during the week, the New South Wales state government has done a deal with the NRL that they're going to reconfigure ANZ Stadium to rectangular configuration, and as part of the New South Wales government spending all that money to reconfigure the stadium, that the grand final's been locked into Sydney until 2042, meaning that what is fast becoming the home of Rugby League Brisbane will not get the opportunity to host a grand final until we're all old and grey.
So they're not actually looking like what we've been speaking about before, about we need to expand our base, we need to take this whole thing on tour, like what they've done with the State of Origin, get it to Melbourne, let's get it out there. I think Perth secured a State of Origin for
2019. Yep.
2019. Yep. Let's get it out there. They've basically decided, no, that's it. This is the MCG of NRL. This is our home. We're going to tie our flag to this.
From my perspective, I don't agree with it. I think that, like you say, it's a great opportunity to take it to different places, and I think Brisbane has shown with the support they've had for the game of rugby league over the last sort of 5 or 6 years, and probably going back even further than that, the crowds that they get to Brisbane Broncos games, Cowboys games, Titans, not so much, but...
Well, who do they play? They play State of Origin against Queensland.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you make that inclusive of your game plan? It's a heartland.
Yeah, it's an absolute heartland. It's and it's one of the best grounds to play at. I've never actually been to a game at Lang Park, but everyone that's ever been there says it's the greatest ground to watch rugby league at in the world. It's a fantastic ground. It's got plenty of people there, but 2042.
2042.
That's a long way away, isn't it? So it's a long-term deal, but good on the New South Wales Premier for securing it. But I think again,
he won't be in power in 2 years' time. So what does he care?
Boy, he doesn't want to travel across the border to go watch an NRL grand final.
He doesn't need to.
Doesn't need to until 2042. Yeah, I'm a bit on the fence with this one because obviously being a Victorian, I am quite happy with the MCG being the home of football, and I guess NRL would want to have their own home, so to speak. But as we've said before, I don't oppose other states hosting a grand final, but there needs to be a certain certain level of expectation, and I think Queensland and New South Wales and Melbourne probably have those for an NRL grand final covered.
Ample.
Yeah, I mean, especially Melbourne. You know, if you can host an AFL grand final, you can host an NRL one. You'd have plenty of seats. But I guess NRL's looking to make themselves. You know, they are obviously in competition with the AFL, and they maybe want to set up a bit of that. Not so much history, but a bit of a legacy as well, to say, well, this is the home of NRL now. This is where you...
From a business point of view, that's absolutely madness to go to 2042. That's basically saying how many TV rights deals are going to be done in that period.
Oh, yeah.
They're done every 4 years or 3 years, and they go up exponentially. So that's a 20 plus year deal.
It's a very long-term contract.
It is, there's not a lot of foresight in that one as far as the length goes, but the MCG contract, that was monstrous as well. I mean,
but that was done back in the
1800s or something.
1900s. We had shillings and pounds and everything else like that in Melbourne.
You know, it probably cost them a shilling or something to get that deal done as well. Yeah.
Well, the other interesting aspect, and I don't know how much truth there is to it, but during the period of the redevelopment of ANZ Stadium, there's talk that the grand final is going to be hosted by other Sydney venues. So rather than
other Sydney venues,
so other venues within Sydney, so
it's
the
not
Sydney
even
Football
going to be
Stadium or the Sydney Cricket Ground. So while it's being redeveloped, it's still going to stay in New South Wales during that period, rather than sending it to Queensland. So yeah, the whole thing doesn't make a great deal of sense to me.
So not only does New South Wales have a grip on getting a baggy green when you become a state player for New South Wales,
Yeah, well, I mean, to be honest, I think this is all just an outcry because they can't win the state of origin. So at least they keep something within the state. So I guess we'll have to move on from that one.
3-0 this year, mate. 3-0. Go Blues.
Well, it'll be 3-0, mate, but I don't think it's going to be the Blues. Yeah, Josh Caddy. For those that weren't watching the AFL on the Thursday night game, Richmond versus the Adelaide Crows, Josh Caddy went for a contested spoil of the ball. Now it escapes me who he actually made contact with, but as he's gone to punch the ball, slap the ball basically with an open hand, he's made contact with the head of one of the players during the actual incident. So this isn't a late hit, this isn't a malicious hit or anything like that. He's gone obviously for the ball. He's actually even touched the ball at one stage, and his hands kind of ricocheted into the face of the Adelaide Crows player. Unfortunately, that player did get a slight concussion and couldn't come back on for the rest of the game. Josh Caddy offered a 1-week suspension. What are your thoughts on that one, Brucey?
I can't actually mention the word on radio, but if that's the point we've got to now, that the result of your actions doesn't matter where you are in the game, I'm not sure how we're going to play this game going forward, because I think we spoke about it before. If you take Mark of the Year but your boot accidentally hits the bloke in the head and knocks him out, you get suspended for a week. Yep. It's a contact sport, and that action, the guy was spoiling the ball.
It was incidental contact,
and
wasn't it?
If the way I seen it was basically he had just as much right to go to spoil that ball as what the Adelaide Crows guy had to going for the mark. So why is his actions worse than the Adelaide Crows guy? Only because the Adelaide Crows guy got knocked out. What happens if it's the other way around? I was trying to mark the ball, but in the event of me marking the ball, I knocked Caddy out. Yeah. Does he get a week? Yeah. I don't know. What's the bad action?
We seem to be going towards the outcome instead of the action. Where the action itself, there was no malicious intent. There was nothing in it really, and he's copped a week because the player got suspended. Donnie, you probably would have a bit more insight as well on the one with Burgess, where he's copped 2 weeks, which has been highly controversial as well.
Yeah, it was just one where he was taking a hit up and he's gone to try and bump the player off. And because the player's head's down there, he's made contact with the throat, but his arm never went above his own shoulder. So it's just, again, one of those ones where it's a contact sport. The guy's bent over to make a tackle and he's made incidental contact. Sure, the contact was high on the player that he was bumping off, but I mean, it's an accidental thing that happens when players put their heads in the wrong spot, and that's exactly. It was more the case of the defender putting his head in the wrong spot rather than Burgess viciously lashing out with the arm. So it's
well, just the game I watched on the weekend. The guy instigating the tackle, he got it wrong. He ran clean into this bloke's hip, knocked himself out, and he went off under the what's it called for the
HIA?
Yeah.
Head injury assessment.
Head injury assessment. Should he have got a week because he stuffed it up? He ran into the bloke's hip.
Yeah.
No, he shouldn't have got a week. But this is the same thing. Is like
that's the thing where I think the AFL's got it very wrong. We spoke about it last week where it was a fair bump.
It was a great bump.
It was a
fantastic,
bump.
and we're
100%
Essendon fans as well, and we were still on Richie Douglas's side, Joe. And that is an awesome bump.
Yeah, our best player, fairest and best winner, but it was like that was awesome.
Yeah, do it again, Richie.
Split him straight down the
Something
middle.
that should be in the highlights reel. Instead, it's got him rubbed out from Brownlow contention. Not that he was going to be in Brownlow contention, but
no, but still, I don't know. It's gone mad. I don't know how. And then,
how do you come back from this? Because the other thing that fans scream out for is consistency. You want consistency, but you don't want them to be consistently making these decisions. Surely,
no. And unfortunately, we're getting consistency at the moment. But I think this is all an outcry and overreaction to all the past players coming out to attacking the AFL over the concussions and head injuries and all the rest of it. So now, regardless of whether it's intentional or not, I think we're going to see a lot of overreaction if someone gets hurt.
That sort of things, concussions, I think we've got a long way back as far as that's something they're going to have to look at as far as NFL in America is going through it. A lot of them are going back as how it's been treated in the past. The problem we've got is probably no one knows exactly how to deal with it correctly. And I think NRL, AFL, all of them are going to be going through certain procedures, timelines to get it done correctly. But until we find that balance, it's just going to be murky water. And now whether or not the AFL having one bloke who sits in judgment, I like that. As far as black and white, the guy's got to make a decision on what he sees. But if he's going to have to send every decision he makes to a referral, guess what? You might as well get that referral guy to make the decision. So
now this one isn't on our run sheet, but I understand you've got another controversy corner that you wanted to add in tonight.
I just quickly, everyone's seen all the cricketers get paraded around outside of I don't know if it's controversy corner or get around it, but just a controversy corner, we can say, some of that was just stage managed garbage. Whether you believe that what they did was right or wrong or anything else, but I wanted to just get around Christina Matthews from the WACA. She's her CEO. Out of all of those people who, Bancroft, Warner, Smith, she was the only person basically from a cricketing association who was standing right alongside him when he was making that speech.
And I've seen her get lots of praise during the last, throughout this saga because of the way that she's handled it. And she's got lots of fans, and there's a few people saying that Mr. Sutherland might want to watch his back because she's doing such a good job.
They're lining him up.
That a lot of people are calling for her to take over the top job at Cricket Australia, thinking that she'd do a better job than what James Sutherland has. So watch this space, I suppose. But in terms of the media circus, I suppose you've got to ask the question: why did David Warner hold a press conference?
Look, we'll get to that during the blowtorch. I don't think we'll ask that question just yet. But I do have Bancroft in for a get around him as well. For one, I tagged you in relation to Klinger, Maxi Klinger, an article. But we'll touch on that shortly. We'll be back in a moment. We're going to talk about the Ellenbrook United. We're going to talk about the Ellenbrook Falcons. All have their seasons coming up. You're in the sheds.
On VCA 885 FM, where the Valley comes alive, this is In the Sheds. If you've got something to say about the show or something happening in your community, contact us via Facebook. Back soon.
We will rock you. Everybody, we will rock you. We will rock you. All right.
Join me every Thursday nights from 6 till 8 p.m. on 88.5 FM, where the Valley comes alive, where I bring you the music from the 70s through the 2000s on Jimmy Will Rock You.
This is In the Sheds with Albie, Brucey and Donny on VCA 885 FM, where the Valley comes alive.
That's right, you're in the Sheds. You can hit us up on Twitter at the Sheds885, or you can send us a message on Facebook. If you've got any opinions on anything that we've spoken about so far tonight, make sure you get in touch with us and let us know. We're going to talk about the Ellenbrook United now. Obviously, we had the Fonz come on the program a few weeks ago and have a chat to us. Big things expected for the Ellenbrook United this year, and we'll touch on the first Amateur Premier Division. So we're taking on the Jaguar FC, or football club. Donny, how do you see this one panning out?
Yeah, it's a tough one to get a line on. So Jaguar FC have recently been promoted to the Amateur Premier Division, and it's always difficult to I suppose, gauge the differing strengths of the lower tiers. But stepping up to the Premier Division, usually from sort of the second division teams down to up to the first grade, is it's generally a pretty big step up. But they finished second in Div 1 last year, did Jaguar FC behind UWA Netherlands. 14 wins, a draw and 3 losses. So they had a pretty good season. But I think we had a fair season as well in the top grade. We weren't the top teams, but finished in 8th spot and didn't have a horrible year. But yeah, should be a good chance to get the year off to a good start, taking on a team that's recently promoted.
Where are the Jaguars from, mate? Where do they frequent?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. Yeah,
they're not from the South Americas, from the rugby union.
Yeah, I was. That's a
dropped out of the rugby union.
I like a bit of mystery about our opposition, where we don't actually know where they're from. Looking forward to
hit us up,
yeah,
Fonzie.
Fonzie, let us know
if you're listening. Give us a message on Facebook and let us know where Jaguar FC.
Yeah,
where's their home ground? Where are they from?
Looking forward to a big season from Edward Stannard. We got around him as the 17-year-old last year, who was kind of thrown into the deep end in his getting promoted into the A grade as the goalkeeper, and kind of getting shafted with a couple of own goals by his teammates. So
he did it with aplomb, but it was
a great goal, no doubt about that. But just in the wrong net. But really looking forward to seeing how he goes this year and hopefully establishes himself within the A grade, and hopefully get him on the program, come out and chat.
Hopefully he's back. I heard a story during the week of one of the Rockingham players who isn't coming back for 2018 because he's fallen in love and has no interest in rugby league anymore. So hopefully the same thing hasn't befallen Eddie Stannard.
Oh, jeez, yeah. Trap for young players there. Just remember to stick to your sport until you know that the dream's done, and then you worry about wife and kids. Jesus.
Can we move on?
All right, let's. Good luck to the Ellenbrook United. Looking forward to following them this year. Expecting big things, and Fonzie, let us know where the Jaguars are from, so that we can properly sledge them. Right, let's talk about the Ellenbrook Falcons in the hockey. Now we had an impressive victory last week, and taking on top
ago, they had the bye last week.
So we head into taking on top of the table.
Yeah, the Lions obviously very impressive in round one, and I can tell you they are from Detroit.
Mate, I would not be surprised if the Detroit Lions had to relegate from the NFL to come play hockey in Ellenbrook, so don't worry about that.
But yeah, they again, round one, it's sometimes difficult to tell whether it's the quality of the Lions or whether it's the lack of quality from the opposition. So they thumped the Newman Knights. You wouldn't think there's a great deal of talent. There's not a great deal of people in Newman, so
that wouldn't be playing rugby anyway. Hockey, you wouldn't imagine hockey being the sport of choice up in Newman.
No.
Surely this can't be the Newman Knights.
Well, the Newman Knights, the team the Lions beat 9-0 last week, so whether there's another suburb in WA called Newman, I only know of one.
We'll have to get some clarification on that. That is a hell of a road trip. That's a hell of a place trip.
That's 2 days by car.
That's I can't imagine the Ellenbrook the Ellenbrook Falcons have got a chartered flight up to Newman to play each week either. I don't think they'd be getting that type of unless they've got a fantastic sponsor, in which case hit us up and let us know how you did it. So,
and we're willing to go up. No, we're not. I'm not.
Yeah. Hey, I'll go. I'm not going to Newman for a players trip.
The bus trip home is fantastic.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you imagine the drinking games on that bus trip. No. Jesus. Look. Again, looking forward to this one. The Falcons, obviously it's early in the season, so it's too hard to kind of say second versus top of the ladder on whether this is where they'll be cemented as far as the season goes on. But definitely hoping that this one against the Lions will get the victory and keep trudging along and take top spot. So good luck to the Falcons for the rest of the season.
Yep, big early season game.
All right, we'll be back in a moment, and we're going to get around them. We've got some very worthy local get around them this time, so just make sure you stay tuned.
This is In the Sheds with Albie, Brucey and Donny on VCA 885 FM, where the Valley comes alive.
If you're looking for a second vehicle or just want to update your existing vehicle, then visit the new dealership in Ellenbrook, Focus on Cars, located at 312 The Broadway, Ellenbrook. Focus on Cars have quality late model vehicles with the best range and prices. Trade-ins are welcome and finance and warranties are available. Focus on Cars also have replacement parts and tyres. Give Nevin at Focus on Cars a call on 0450 910 130. Dealer licence 25417. Station sponsor.
This is In the Sheds with Albie, Brucey and Donny. Check us out on Facebook or Twitter at The Sheds 885.
That's right, you're in the Sheds. You can hit us up on Twitter at the Sheds 885 or send us a message on Facebook. We're going to get around them, and I think the first one's very worthy. And for those who aren't aware, there's actually two people really in this one that need to get around. But a big shout out to Jamie Graham, the assistant coach for West Coast Eagles. Unfortunately for Adam Simpson, his daughter fell quite ill and was hospitalised, and he basically flew straight home, probably a couple of hours before the game, to be by her side. So firstly, just goes to show it doesn't matter the level that you're playing or coaching at, family does come first. Secondly, to Jamie Graham coaching his first game and a very convincing victory over the Western Bulldogs. He'd be pretty happy with his first try at the holding the reins.
Yeah, absolutely. Stepped up in difficult circumstances and did a great job. I did see an interesting stat during the week that he's the seventh person to act as head coach for the West Coast Eagles, and all seven of them won their first game.
So maybe they should just do that each week.
Just pick a different coach
each week.
Just pluck someone from the crowd every week, and they'll go through the season unbeaten.
Statistics don't often lie, mate.
Yeah, that's it. Look, they were very, very convincing win. I know it would have been very, very frustrating for Adam Simpson, watching from probably one of the little hospital bed TVs, but fantastic by him to basically drop everything and be there for his daughter. Can't really speak more highly of that. It just goes to show the type of person he is, and obviously full support by the club. And that's what we'd expect from them as well, is just to show nothing but support.
Yeah, and a good win for the West Coast Eagles too. It was a bit of a surprise.
I don't know if you can call it any West Coast Eagles win a good win. They won. So it
was away from home, and they never win away from home. So
yeah, but I just can't put good and West Coast in the same sentence.
You've been spending too much time with Ollie.
Yeah, well, I can't do that about Fremantle either. Right, next, Dan Wolfe. We had Dan on the program late last year, and it might have been early this year. I can't remember, to be honest. We're in a bit of high. So at some stage, Dan's been on the program, and he'd been recently appointed as the head coach of the Swan District's reserve side. Dan had his first game as head coach on the weekend, taking on the Perth Demons down at Lathlane Park. Unfortunately, falling just short. He playing really well. The boys were in control of the entire game up until the last quarter. So apparently he had 2 injuries at three-quarter time. Sorry, 2 injuries at halftime. So he only had 2 rotations, and going into the last quarter, no one on the bench. So 4 injuries, and basically Perth just ran over the top of him. So disappointing first game, but great effort considering he had next to no players left, no rotation. Great effort by the guys that were playing to run out the game.
It's funny. It's a story that I've heard a bit over this. Through the first round of the WAFL, is teams picking up 2 or 3 injuries before half time, and then just sort of having to hang on in the back end of the game. We saw it in the first grade games and stuff. The Good Friday game, I think both Peel and East Fremantle both had injuries in the first half, and were struggling for numbers towards the back end. So there's a few teams having to deal with it in round 1. But welcome to coaching at reserve grade WAFL level, I suppose, and now needs to find replacements, hopefully, for those players, or hopefully not. Hopefully they'll recover and be able to turn around and have another run this week. But
big game this week as well against Peel at home, and as we've mentioned before, Swan District's putting in a massive effort to have a family friendly area for the for Blue Steel Oval, and to have them Steel Blue. A bit of a Zoolander reference there. A bit of Zoolander there. Steel Blue. Now this is pretty much going to be every game from what they've been saying. But the rides, the free entry for the kids, they're putting a massive effort on it being a family day. Yeah, got to get into the can bar. You are not a Swan Districts fan if you have not had an EMU export in the can bar. But now, looking forward to this week. Big challenge against Peel. Obviously, we'll talk about the WAFL a bit later on when we're speaking to JL from 90 Sport FM. But it's big challenge for Dan this week. While we're on the topic of WAFL and coaches, David Van Rolt, bit of a local hero, the Ellenbrook Eels player. He's played, he's coached, he's had roles on the committee. His daughter designed our logo for us. He then was dead to us for a while because he went to Snezza and played in the grand final against, played in one of the preliminary finals against the Eels. But he's just been picked up as he's downplayed it, a minor coaching role, assistant coaching role with the Perth Demons Colts. But great effort for him. Opened up the doors, and he's now part of the Perth Demons. And he's been, Brucey, you would know from playing with him that he's a massive Demons fan.
He is, mate, and all round good fella, great footballer. Probably been very curved by his injuries throughout his career, but that's never stopped him getting out there and having a kick no matter what. And can't. Well, I've never met any bloke that's had a bad word to speak about him. Very fair footballer, but probably the only slights I've got on him is
He went to
he's a Perth supporter, and and he supports Fremantle as well.
Yeah,
and so
good. Yeah,
so good bloke, shocking taste.
Yeah. No, good. Yeah, he's
like you said, it's a. He's downplayed it a bit. Said it's a minor role as the assistant coach for the Colts. But at the end of the day, he's got a foot in the door with the WAFL now, and we expect to see his name kind of progresses as it goes on, and keep continuing on till hopefully he gets into a real team to coach.
Very, very, very talented family. He played a bit of footy with him and his brother. So best of luck, Devo. And,
well done, Devo. And lastly, so Cam Bancroft obviously has been the topic of of quite a bit of controversy over the past week. But this one did make you have to appreciate him and get him into this segment. So Maxi Klinger was doing an interview and basically said that he'd... obviously, Klinger played a lot of cricket with Bancroft. Said he sent him a message to say, you know, mate, thinking of you at the moment. Hope everything's going well. For those that don't know, Maxi Klinger basically he's stepped away from cricket to support his wife, who's going through cancer at the moment. Big stressful time for him. The response from Bancroft was, mate, I'm going through nothing compared to what you're going through. Don't worry about me. You know, best wishes to you and your family. For a 25-year-old that has just lost out millions and has been pretty much chucked on the crucifixion for Cricket Australia, I think that's a very, very mature attitude, and just kind of speaks a bit more volume to the bloke himself.
Yeah, I don't know where else you can go from that, but yeah, that's just...
Yeah, no, he's spot on too, but for him to have that level of insight and compassion sort of says a lot about him as a bloke, and it's been funny sort of listening to people that actually know Cameron Bancroft, and you know, he knows that he stuffed up, he knows that he made a mistake, and he did something that he shouldn't, and the punishment that he got, he deserves to get. But you know, he's copping it on the chin, he's moving on, and you know, hopefully when his suspension is up in 9 months' time, he can come back and make 1,000 runs in a Shield season and force his way back into the team, because you know, he's a very talented cricketer. But you know, from all reports, we obviously don't know him personally, but from listening to people that do know him, he's a top bloke and he deserves a second chance.
Yep, definitely agree with that. We'll move on to and this is a bit of a segue. This is into the Ellenbrook Dockers, the juniors. The Year 12s opened up the Fremantle versus Essendon game on the weekend at Optus Stadium. Geez, they absolutely blew away Fremantle City. I'm just trying to track down the final score. I know someone posted it up. But when we saw it, it was about 94-12 or something like that. They
have you actually got any who the team was chucked out there by, or it was Ellenbrook Eels? I know we've got Ellenbrook Eels Year 12 written down.
Sorry, it's the Ellenbrook Dockers for the because it's the juniors, but it was their Year 12 team. So the Year 12 team's basically the last team before they'll progress to become into the Eels,
Colts,
into Colts and all the rest of it. But they they absolutely pantsed Fremantle City. Absolutely no remorse for them.
And what is Fremantle City anyway? That's the next question. But they obviously must be the same sort of thing. But yeah, that's a big one to be actually get a Guernsey out there for that game, because there would have been any number of local teams wanting to get a line-up for that. So
yeah, and being the Ellenbrook Eels would be absolutely stoked knowing that. They've got that's what's coming through the ranks. I think the guys will be very happy with that. We've had a message come through from Devo. He's heard everything we've said. We're all on his list.
What list, Devo? What list?
Thanks, Devo, for writing in, mate. But yeah, good luck, mate. We're all rooting for you. Right, we'll be back after this. We're going to talk about the Swan Valley Soccer Club and their basically upcoming fixture as well. You're in the Sheds.
On VCA 885 FM, where the Valley comes alive, this is In the Sheds. If you've got something to say about the show or something happening in your community, contact us via Facebook. Back soon.
Ellenbrook IGAs are open 7 days a week with great service and weekly specials. Both Woodlake Village and Aveley IGAs are open from 6 a.m. until 12 midnight. Look for their latest catalogue in your mailbox or online at www.iga.net.au. Station sponsor.
This is In the Sheds with Albie, Brucey and Donny on VCA 885 FM, where the Valley comes alive.
That's right, you're in the Sheds. You can hit us up on Twitter at the Sheds 885, or you can send us a message on Facebook. Let us know your thoughts on anything we've discussed today, or if there's any local sporting heroes that you think we need to get around, definitely message us and let us know, because we love throwing the support behind the local guys and girls that are doing great things in our sporting community. Right, let's talk about Swan Valley Soccer Club. We're starting the Round 1 Amateur Division 4, taking on Bassendean, what is that, Caledonian? Taking on Bassendean, let's just go with that. In Round 1, Swan Valley, pretty excited. They've got themselves 4 teams this year. They're moving on to bigger and better things. How do you see this one panning out?
Well, again, all you can do, I suppose, is, without knowing the gains and losses, I suppose, of the teams, is to have a look at where they finished last year. And Bassendean were 6th and we were 7th last year in this same competition. Just 1 win and a draw sort of separating the 2 teams. So there wasn't too much between them. And then mixed results throughout the year as well. So in round 6, we belted them 4-1, but they got their revenge later in the year with a 3-1 win in round 13. So, it's a real toss of the coin job. I think, I know neither game was particularly close, but, sort of one win apiece last year and 1 spot on the ladder between them. So there's not much between them. Should be a really good game away from home, but, hopefully the boys can turn up. They're all fired up and show what they've done during the pre-season.
Is this Greeny's team?
Yeah, mate, yep.
Greeny, if you're listening, mate, you need to give us a bit of chin music or something like that. We can sort of dish out at Bassendean, or let us know.
Yeah, I reckon we get stuck. I'm really looking forward to this game, primarily because the Swan Valley Cricket Club wind-up is on the Friday night. So I can't wait to see the sour faces that roll into the park on Saturday, because as we know, the cricket is alpha to soccer. So if we say drink, you have to drink. We'll see how much. It's going to be great to see how many people have self-control that night, because there'll also be a few that'll be playing football on the Saturday as well.
Well, hopefully not too many.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic.
Drink responsible, people.
Yeah, that's it. Or throw your guts up the next day in punishment. Right, we will move on to the Ellenbrook Eels, the football. Now, they're so close last year, so close to going up a grade. Obviously, the reserves won the grand final. C3, we're always looking to push into that C2 competition with the Eels, and basically heartbreak in that final quarter last year means we missed out. But new season, let's get into it. Secret Harbour, big game to open up the year, and it's a big home game as well. So we're looking for a few numbers down at the DOS, and hopefully a bit of support. But really expecting a big season out of the Eels this year.
Yeah, and again, we know that they're going to be pushing, as you say, for that promotion, and I think it's a good game to start with against Secret Harbour, who again are a team that's been promoted. So they won the C4 competition last year, so they've been promoted into the C3. They beat Kwinana in the final, so they actually finished second at the end of the regular season, but they went through and won the grand final, beating Kwinana. I suppose the player to look out for if he has come back for this season is probably Ryan Nye. He kicked 95 goals last season in the C4 competition. He might find it a little bit harder stepping up a level, but he'll be one that we'll have to contain.
Yeah, definitely. I can't see... I think it'll be a big step up for them coming into the C3 competition, and especially against Ellenbrook, who have been such a dominant team for the last few years. Definitely looking forward to this one. I think there's going to be I don't want to call whitewash, but I think Secret Harbour are in for a bit of pain. I think they're going to be in for a very harsh welcome into the competition this week.
You would think so. It'll be a very much sort of welcome to C3 type scenario.
Look, congratulations to them for winning the C4 competition, but they're not just going up against the one of the average teams in the C3. They're going against ones that really should be in C2. They're probably a few costly mistakes, and that's the reason why they've missed out on going up a level the last couple of years.
Year after year.
Yeah, that's it. But this is the part that they do really well, and that's win the games during the season. So if they could work on the finals part as well, that'd be fantastic. But look, I'm expecting big things from Ellenbrook this year. I reckon they will be hoisting the cup at the end of this season in the C3 and finally get that rise into the C2. Also, I mean, the reserves, I don't think we need to mention too much there. They won the grand final last year. We think they'll probably push quite well too and keep going. So it's probably going to be a bit of a love fest for the Ellenbrook Eels this year, I think, as far as the season goes on.
Well, it gives you a bit of an indication of the depth at the club too. The fact that they were able to get so close in the top grade and then winning the reserve grade, sort of gives you a bit of an indication as that it's a whole club approach. Expecting a really, really big season from the Eels, and that probably means at the same time, while you say it'll be a bit of a love-in, I think that means that we're probably going to be pretty harsh on them too. So when they don't perform, we're going to be disappointed because we expect big things from them.
Well, I'll be all right. I'll be on board. He's a traitor to us. He's dead to us now. He's on the other side of the fence there, but it's okay, boys. I'm still an Eel.
Yeah.
Albie, no, you're dead to us.
Yeah, no,
Sorry.
dead. The Ellenbrook Eels also be launching this Thursday basically a big season launch for the Ellenbrook Eels and for the netball club. They're assisting with that as well. So it's going to be $15 adult meals, $8 children's meals, and they're talking lasagna, curries, roasts, bringing you cash. And this is the launch for both the netball, the Ellenbrook Eels netball and Ellenbrook Eels football club at the DOS tomorrow night. So get down to that one. And sounds like I'm a single bloke. I might go down to that. I might actually get fed right for once instead of just eating takeaway. Right.
Not touching that.
I'm not touching that one at all.
All right. We'll be back in a moment. We're going to get into the blowtorch and rightfully so stuck into young Davey Warner. You were in the sheds.
On VCA 885 FM, where the valley comes alive, this is In the Sheds. If you've got something to say about the show or something happening in your community, contact us via Facebook. Back soon.
G'day, Graham Ross with the Autumn Garden Clinic, brought to you by The Big Cheese for total rodent control, available from Bunnings. Roses are making good growth now for their autumn blooms. Keep them thriving with a deep watering every fourth day, but don't wet the leaves, as this encourages black spot fungus, a disease common in areas with high humidity. If your roses are infected, yellow leaves with black spots, apply a rose spray every 10 days. And watch out for aphids, tiny green insects that breed quickly and smother the new growth, sucking the sap and spoiling the flowers. Now you must control them before they spread. Apply insecticide granules, but if spraying, avoid foraging bees. Roses need a handful of pelletized fertiliser every 2 months throughout the flowering season until May. Keep them well mulched to enrich the soil, to keep the roots cool and to stop the weeds. Container-grown roses are in full bloom in garden centres for planting right now. Till next time, good gardening from Graham Ross and the Autumn Garden Clinic.
Why not join me every Wednesday morning between 8 and 10 a.m. when Hunter Plays For You? The show will feature 4 artists, one every half hour, and will be an eclectic mix of music, predominantly from the 60s, 70s and 80s, with a bit of history on the featured artist and their music. Requests can be made. Email radiovca88.5@gmail.com or phone 92971088.
This is In the Sheds with Albie, Brucey and Donny on VCA 885 FM, where the valley comes alive. Now it's time to turn up the heat in the sheds. It's Blowtorch.
That's right, you're in the Sheds. You can hit us up on Twitter at the Sheds 885 or send us a message on Facebook. Right into the blowtorch. I think we'll let you start off, Donny, because I want to save as much time as I can for the lovely Mr. Warner. Rugby league commentators, mate.
So lots of talk in rugby league at the moment, all about penalties, about there being too many penalties. You know, referees blowing the pee out of the whistle for sort of minor infractions, and they should just let the game flow. At least that's the attitude of all the commentators and experts of our game. So they're all saying, just ignore those little minor things like playing the ball correctly and, players standing in front of the referee. Just ignore that. Just let the game flow and stop blowing your whistle. Now, I think that shows that some of these experts spend too much time up in their private corporate boxes, and they're completely out of touch with what the average rugby league fan actually wants. So I've been following this quite a lot on social media over the last week, and it seems all these people on Twitter with the little blue ticks, they're all complaining and whinging, and you read through the comments, and every single fan, I reckon 75 to 80% of the fans on there are disagreeing with the experts of the game, saying that these are the things that we have been complaining about for near on a decade. They have changed the fabric of the game by allowing these things to go unchecked. So this is what the fans are saying, that they actually want these things to be policed. They want teams 10 metres apart, not 7 or 8 metres apart. They want faster ruck speed. They want players to get out of the ruck. They want to get rid of the wrestle, the Melbourne-style wrestle out of the game. These are the things that fans have been screaming about to have fixed up for the last decade, and the referees have finally taken control with the assistance of the NRL to achieve these things. And all the experts and commentators and people on TV were all whinging and complaining and bleating about it non-stop. And they're completely out of touch with what the average person wants.
Just quickly, I text you on the weekend about it, and from what I've limited knowledge of the sport and what I've seen, some people are already saying, it's a Melbourne Storm that's a crackdown on the Melbourne Storm. Are they any worse than the other ones? Because the other one I've seen is that what I text you about was basically you got to be 10 metres back, be behind the umpire when the ball's being played. But where the umpires have been letting everyone go is guys that are further out away from where the ball's being played, they can wander in if they want. Yeah. But if the ball gets thrown wide, hang on, this bloke's already got 3 or 4 metres cribbed on you before you even get the ball. You've got to throw the ball backwards and then start running. If he's already got 3 or 4 metres on you at full pace, you're going to get smacked.
Yeah.
Stay behind the umpire, mate. It's pretty easy.
It's a very, very simple concept, and it's great to see them finally start to enforce it. And you did text that through on the weekend, and I basically texted back saying, well, I don't know why people are complaining about it, but it's a very simple rule. It's in the rule book, and referees are enforcing it. I don't know why people are whinging about it, but Gus Gould, who's been one of the big proponents against it, he has his own show on Monday night and came out again and was basically confronted by a guest that said, well, listening to the fans, they actually want this, that they're happy with it. They're happy that it's going to make the game better in the long run. So while they all agree that watching a game with 33 penalties in it is not overly enjoyable, they can see the big picture, and they can see that once there's more space between the teams, games are going to be more attacking, they're going to flow quicker, and it's going to be great to watch. So they can see the big picture, whereas these other guys can't. And Gus Gould's response to it was, well, if you're going to start listening to the fans, pretty soon you'll be sitting with them. And that was his response. So if the fans agree with him, he'll use that as an example to say that the league is out of touch and they should be listening to the fans. But when the fans disagree with him, he says, well, you shouldn't listen to them. They're all idiots.
Yeah, that's effectively right. To be honest, I'm sick of commentators. I remember I love commentators that actually commentate the game that's going on. Not their opinions, not their thoughts, not listening to Shane Warne talk about what type of shampoo he uses, or sit there listening to Alistair Lynch and that, sit there have their own conversation about God knows what that has nothing to do with the actual play. I mean, granted, sometimes the play that's happening in front of you is boring, but it's not always. And they just get trapped talking about God knows what.
Kevin Peterson.
Yeah, KP. They just sit there talk about God knows what while the play is happening right in front of them, and you just sit there going, that was a fantastic piece of sport, and it's been immortalised by you talking about your own personal issues.
It's a lot worse when you're listening to cricket on the radio and you listen to it for 45 minutes and you don't know what the score is.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The footy's like that now as well, though. Like, you just go, oh, for God's sake, can someone just give a score update? Like, losing your mind. Right, we'll move on to David Warner. So Bancroft and Smith have both accepted their penalties. Smith released a tweet basically saying that he said during his press conference that he was going to accept the penalties that were offered, and as the captain of Australia, and that means, and he's standing by that. Bancroft has stated that he's going to accept his. Warner's not accepting his. I'm not surprised by that. But he also, as we said in his press conference, basically said nothing and everything, but said nothing, and said that he wasn't allowed to say anything because he was basically gagged on it. But now it's turned out that he didn't say anything because he's selling the story for over around the $1.1 million mark for a tell-all tale of what's happened in the Sandpaper Gate saga. Now, keeping in mind that he's probably lost around $5-6 million every friend he has, and the love and respect of Australia. Well, is it the right thing to do?
Well, I think we've got to stop talking. We've got to can this show right now, and put the feelers out and see who's going to pay for us to keep telling our life stories on air. Come on.
Yeah.
Hit me up, new idea.
Yeah, I'll gladly tell the tale of Albie for $1.2 million. I don't think it'll be as controversial.
It'll be 1.2 lira.
Yeah. I'll be lucky if I get 1.2 baht.
The community.
Yeah, that's it.
But where's he going with this?
I have
Seriously?
no idea. The timing
is
as
he
well.
another one? Is he another one who is almost like
the tennis brats?
Favola, from an AFL point of view. If he can't kick a football, or he can't hit a ball, or he can't play tennis, what is he going to do? He's holding a stop-go sign at he's a lollipop bloke.
Yeah. I was listening to...
Where's he going to go?
I was listening to the Grade Cricketer, and they did touch on that. They said, if it wasn't for cricket, David Warner would be basically doing the checkout at McDonald's. They
don't even have a checkout at McDonald's anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
They've got a self-serve machine, and you tap and go, and you're done.
Yeah, I don't think you'd have him at the checkout. He'd have to work out the back. You can't have him dealing with people.
But he's not tall enough to reach the stuff on the shelf, so you can't have him lifting stuff either.
Look, it's a dirty, dirty, dirty scenario, and I think, I don't know if you can build a bus with big enough tyres for what he's going to try and throw in front of that bus. But
yeah. Ollie's just messaged in. He's called for proceeds of crime. I don't know if it's... It's a good stretch. I'll pay that one. I don't know how it goes. It's not quite on par with Chappelle Corby, but it's pretty close. It's probably more talked about than her debacle.
He didn't actually have the drugs, but he just supplied the boogie board.
Yes,
and the bag.
Yeah, that's it. Look, it's going to be one that's going to carry on for a while. And we know obviously he's not going to. He's not going to be writing the book, because we know that's not going to be out of his realms of possibility, that he's actually going to write the story. It probably why he's been paid for it.
I'm just trying to work out how long it's going to be before we see him in a next cricketing setting. I'm thinking who's going to be in the jungle next year during the BBL.
Oh, yeah, it's got to be
in the advert.
It's got to be
in the
Warner.
advert. He'll be in the advert. He won't be playing cricket, but he'll be on the coverage.
A disgraced cricketer.
Yeah.
I wonder who it could be.
Yeah, disgraced cricketer selling out everything for a buck.
Although, it's on 10, isn't it? So 10 might actually have the cricket rights. So.
Yep.
Who knows what's going on with that? Because Channel 9 apparently has got the tennis.
Yep. I've seen the little chirp from Ollie as well.
Yeah. I was going to mention that. Ollie's a bit...
he's onto it tonight.
Yeah, he can't believe you're making short people jokes.
I know, yeah, it's outrageous. But I also don't work in at counter jobs either, where I have to reach the top shelf, so it's all good. Right, we'll be back after this. We're going to be joined by Jacob Landsmeer from WAFL World, from pretty much everything on Sport FM, and he's going to have a chat to us about the WAFL. You're in the Sheds.
On VCA 885 FM, where the valley comes alive, this is In the Sheds. If you've got something to say about the show or something happening in your community, contact us via Facebook. Back soon.
You don't know me, but I'm your brother.
This is In the Sheds with Albie, Brucey and Donny on VCA 885 FM, where the Valley comes alive.
That's right, you're in the Sheds. You can hit us up on Twitter at the Sheds885, or you can send us a message on Facebook. Our next guest has a bit of a resume. He's the co-host of Sports Drive Monday to Thursday on Sport FM, WAFL World Monday 7pm, Toast the Coast on Saturdays. He does the South Metro Cricket Show, commentates the WAFL and the Shield games. He's basically the Basil Zemflis of Sport FM. Jacob Landsmeer, how are you?
Oh, geez, boys, how do I follow up from that introduction? I'm going well. Geez, you make me sound like Mr. Everywhere with that introduction. No, I'm going well, boys. Great to be speaking to you tonight, and good evening to all your listeners out there in Ellenbrook.
Thanks for coming on, mate. We figured with the WAFL firing up, there's probably not many better people to have a chat to and get their views on round one and the season to come. I guess probably the first question to ask is, should we be scared of Subiaco?
I think we're probably scared of Subiaco to begin with, just because Jared Schofield's at the helm, and what a wonderful resume he's starting to put together, and I think he'll be in the AFL this time next year. But, I mean, they've made 4 grand finals in a row. They won in 2014, 2015, and against any other team other than Peel Thunder, they would have won probably the last 2 grand finals as well. So they are the benchmark in the competition. I think everyone sort of hopes that they're able to avenge the last 2 grand final defeats. It's left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths, but they were impressive. That was a wonderful start. 118-point win over East Perth. I know we'll delve into it in more detail in a moment, but I'm not sure whether we read too much into it because it's only one game in isolation. But East Perth were as disappointing as Subiaco were good.
Jacob, that was my question. That's the main thing I basically got out of that game. Does it say more about Subiaco, or does it say more about the Royals as far as the alignment teams and everything else like that? We've heard so much about Peel and how much they've benefited from the alignment with Fremantle, but where are the Royals out of this? To concede 29 goals in a WAFL game, that's just Subiaco, fantastic. Everyone knows Subiaco are a fantastic side with how many grand finals, and they've been the benchmark in our league for a long time. But for East Perth as an alignment side to cough up 29 goals in a game, what's going on there?
Oh, well, I think everyone at East Perth's asking that question. And for Luke Webster, it's absolutely shattering, we must say. I know he's employed by the West Coast Eagles first and foremost, but his family has a history at East Perth. His father and his grandfather were heavily involved in the club as well. And for him as a proud Royals person, that is a shattering way to start your season. I think it does say more about East Perth, in all honesty, taking nothing away from what Subiaco did. But you look at some of the players that Subiaco were missing: Clancy Wheeler, Chris Phelan, Corey Adamson, Jordan Lockyer, Justin Joyce. I mean, there's a few players who start at different times last year. They only had 11 of their grand final side out there on the weekend, Subi, so you wouldn't even say they're at full strength. And East Perth, I guess I was at the game and watched it, and we're watching the East Perth guys closely. A lot of West Coast Eagle listed talent out there, 12 Eagles players. They're very young, they're very inexperienced, and you look at Subiaco, and you bring a guy like Zach Clark into the setup. They've got a lot of hardened senior WAFL bodies who probably just taught them a thing or two, but it was largely non-competitive from East Perth, and the tone was set for the day really early. Francis Watson, who's close to playing for West Coast, you have to say, dropped 4 or 5 marks in the first 15 minutes of the game, and it really set the tone for his teammates. They fumbled, they stumbled, they missed targets, they couldn't get the ball out of their defensive 50, and Subiaco capitalised. It was 6 or 7-6, I think it was, at quarter time to 2 goals straight. It would have been probably about 20 inside 50s to 8. It was all one-way traffic, and it never really got any better, and the writing was on the wall from early on. But East Perth have been panned in the media this week, rightfully so, for what they dished up. And with a Perth derby coming up this weekend against the Falcons, I've got no doubt they'll bounce back. But, it's a fair way back from such a dispiriting round 1 loss.
Just a quick question without notice here. Is 29-14, is this going to be a record for goals kicked in a game regarding, like, in the modern era? That's...
Subiaco were, I think they said it was about 206. I think it was their record score, so they weren't far off it. But I think that's what they were saying during the game on the commentary. was about 206, I think was their score. You probably correct me on that, JL.
Not far off. Very, very close. 207, I think it was, and it was in the 1980s. So we're talking a very different era. It wasn't even their high score against East Perth, believe it or not, boys. 31-14-200 in round 1985 was their highest score against the Royals, and just a little statistical anomaly. You'll get a theme here. I'm a bit quirky with the stats. It's the third time they've scored 188 in a WAFL game. So it's a score they have racked up from time to time. I will go out on a limb and say no team will kick a score bigger than that this year. Round one, that's the benchmark for scoring. We see it often. We're seeing it in the AFL at the moment. High scores are prevalent early in the year, and sadly, with the weather getting a little bit colder and a little wetter over the weekend and the defensive structures coming into place, scores get lower and lower as the season goes on. So, big day at the office of Subiaco. Brad Stevenson slammed through 7. Reece Waters just welcomes himself back into the fold with 5, 3 in the first term. Had goal kickers everywhere. Ben Sokol, 3 goals, 22 touches and 10 marks. So just winners across the field. They won every position, and very, very ominous signs moving into 2018 from Subi.
So, Jacob, that's the worst game, I suppose, of the weekend out of the way. What I want to do is head back to the Good Friday clash, and I know this is one that, as a Sharks fan, is pretty close to your heart, but the Sharks gave a real good account of themselves against the defending champs.
I'm glad that you cleared that up for me and outed me as a Sharks fan. I didn't want to have to say it myself. No, I am a proud Sharks fan. It's been a difficult few years for the club, and they've struggled financially, and unfortunately, AC Mantle Oval as a venue is just really a poor venue for football at any level. It's in desperate need of a redevelopment, and unfortunately, they don't have the money required to get that. But this was a very encouraging showing. I have to say I'm a little bit disappointed. They were up at quarter time, half time, and 3/4 time. It was there for the taking. Peel were off on the day, and they just squandered some opportunities in the last quarter. A controversial goal awarded late to Sam Switkowski, one of Peel's new recruits. The ball appeared to hit the post, but it was called a goal, and that gave Peel the lead, and they were never headed from there, 5-1 in the last quarter. The sad news from an Eastern Mantle perspective, though, guys, was Blaine Boakhurst's injury in the first quarter. Very early on in the piece, a knee injury, and still waiting to hear how severe that knee injury is, but he'll be missing a fair bit of football, you would say, one way or another, whether it's a season or a decent chunk of it. But they managed to cover his absence pretty well. Jaden Schofield's the reigning win medalist. He's an outstanding player off half-back, and a full season out of George Hampson changes Eastern Mantle's prospects greatly for me. Nick Comer was a great addition to that midfield. And Jonathan Marsh, who had the unenviable task of playing full-back, and Peel Thunder had 4 players over 200 centimetres tall on the day. When you go down to full back and you've got monsters all around you, just putting their arms up and they're able to take marks above their head at will. It's a pretty ominous task for Jonathan Marsh or any full back in that situation, but he held his head up high, 22 touches. But unfortunately, it wasn't the result the Sharks were after. As for Peel, they'll play better this season, but their skipper Gerald Ugle kicked 3 and they get the win that they're after. But I think the competition was barracking for an East Fremantle win, just to show that Peel are very much beatable, but the 2-time reigning premiers were too good.
Yeah, no, it definitely was we're going for the Sharks in my household. Would love to see Peel get knocked off in round 1. We'll move on to probably being Swan Districts fans. We'll move on to our favourite game. But Reece Palmer, what a pickup he's been for the Swans.
Oh, absolutely, and I've got a soft spot for the Black Ducks as well, so I'm with you boys. I like the way they go about it. They've got such a loyal supporter base who get out to Bassendean on a week-to-week basis and follow the team wherever they might be playing, Laflane Park in this case. And it was a scrappy first half. I think both teams were just feeling their way into the season. Perth hopefully improved this year. I think everyone wants to see Perth go a little bit better for the strength of the competition first and foremost. But it was Reece Palmer's day. I mean, I think everyone looked at Reece Palmer's recruitment and said it's a good addition to the team, but just how much of a difference can he make? I think we saw straight up what he can do. His foot skills have always been his major flaw. He can find the football, but being able to hit targets is the question mark. And I have to say, having seen that game firsthand, he was exquisite on that left boot. And 31 touches, 19 clearances is the incredible stat. To get 19 clearances in a game just shows his dominance. 3 goals, 8 inside 50s, and to be honest, he was simply the difference on the afternoon. Todd Banfield kicked 3 goals. I mean, that's the question for Swans. Who kicks their goals this year with no Ricky Carey? Encouraging start from him this year. Corey Galt, reigning best and fairest, kicked a couple. Nathan Blakely got through the game unscathed, and was lucky enough to speak to him on Perth radio a couple of nights ago, and he's going to be a major inclusion for Swans. He gives them some flexibility in that ruck position. But encouraging signs. Adam Pickering starting his coaching career with a win, and not sure about you boys, but I'd be pretty excited.
Yeah, definitely looking good so far. But just with on Reece Palmer, he was a Sharks boy, wasn't he? I'm just a bit surprised he didn't come back home.
Oh, I don't think they had any money left after throwing all their money around at Nick Comer and Reece Palmer and Jonathan Griffin, Jared Jansen, just to name a few. I think Reece Palmer, unfortunately, they just couldn't squeeze him in under their salary cap for East Fremantle. So disappointing that the Sharks weren't able to bring him back to Shark Park. But at the end of the day, it's great for the WAFL to have Reece Palmer back. He's a player who's played at the highest level, rising star winner at the Dockers, played at the Giants in a star-studded team, and unfortunately an ill-fated move to Carlton. He only played the one game there before leaving Carlton by mutual consent at the end of last year and been welcomed back into the fold at the Black Ducks. And he'll quickly be loved and admired by the loyal faithful there at Bassendean, and I know they're back at home this week against Peel. And they'll need him to play well there too against a number of players that have AFL experience. So he's going to be an outstanding addition, and while it's unfortunate he's not playing for my Sharks boys, I'm still happy that he's back in the WAFL.
Just a quick one there, JL. One of the things I did have written down earlier in the day was just the AFL players that are coming back into the system and just their almost, I won't say inability, but just getting back to their original football clubs of origin. We obviously mentioned Reece Palmer, but I'm actually pretty happy that we are actually starting to see a lot of the ex-AFL players. They're getting a Guernsey. They're coming back. So, Reece Palmer. Yeah, he's a NAB Rising Star winner, and he's back in. Swan Districts have obviously got a number of them. A little bit disheartened having Sharad Wellingham running around. Always thought he's a bit of a hack, but anyway. But it's good to see these guys. They're coming back. They're still running around. So
I think it's a reflection on the strength of the WAFL competition as a whole. I mean, you look at the recent efforts of WAFL sides in state games, and they've done the clean sweep going from 2013 to the present. They've beaten every state side put in front of them, and I know the Victorians will kick up a storm and say otherwise, but the evidence is there to suggest that this is the strongest state league in Australia, and there's a state game coming up in May against South Australia, and I know the Sandful rate themselves, they always look at it as them against everyone else over there in South Australia, but if they were able to beat South Australia in South Australia in May, I don't think you can argue the point any further that West Australia isn't the strongest state competition at the moment. You've got guys who have been drafted in the AFL. You only have to look at the weekend, and Liam Ryan dominates for the Eagles. Tim Kelly's been a revelation for Geelong. Zach Langdon at Greater Western Sydney is another one. They're popping up everywhere. It's a reflection of the strength of the WAFL competition, and it's a credit to the WAFL clubs who continue to produce these players who are up to AFL standard, and it's great to see. Hopefully we see more of it in the years to come.
And hopefully we see them come back as well. Like Kane Mitchell's back this year, so
and smashed it as well. A lazy 40 from him.
Yeah, Shane Yarran, as obviously he's had his issues, but he's trying to get back into the structure at Subiaco. We've seen what he did at Fremantle. It's just going to make the competition better viewing.
Spot on, absolutely.
Yeah, so we'll talk about the last game. Obviously, West Perth Falcons too strong over Claremont, but some big disposal getters in that game. Kane Mitchell, welcome back from Port Adelaide, and he showed why he won the Sandover. I think it was 2012. Sorry, correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
Yeah, just fantastic effort from him. 40 touches, but just falling a little bit short to West Perth.
It's a terrific game, this one, actually. I think both teams are at a similar level, and West Perth held sway for the majority of the day. But you're right. I mean, for Kane Mitchell, not only did he win the Sandover in 2012, as you mentioned, he won with 52 votes, which is the record for most votes polled in a Sandover count in the history of the WAFL. So quite incredible how dominant he was in that year, a premiership year for the Tigers as well. So he'll be a major inclusion, but they probably just didn't get enough from the 22 on the day. It was the battle of the Sandover medalist, Aaron Black, from West Perth, 40 touches and 16 tackles too, which shows he was doing it defensively as well as offensively. Shane Nelson, 39 touches. We know he's not a Sandover medalist, but in another world, another life he probably would be. Kane Mitchell, 41 touches, 7 marks. 7 inside 50s. Jai Bolton, a Sandover medalist in 2016, 39 votes for him. So plenty of players found the ball, but to be honest, the key indicators, guys, in this match, there wasn't too much between the teams. West Perth had one more possession, they had 2 more inside 50s, and Claremont won the hit-out count. So there really wasn't anything between the two teams on paper, and West Perth, I think most people expect to struggle this year. They just weren't able to recruit. But you bring in a guy like Liam Tedesco, who's from the amateurs. He's a big body. He had 26 possessions. Tyson Moulton showing some improvement, 3 goals. Rudy Riddick, who's lost 10 kilos, he kicked 3 as well. So you just never know with West Perth. They're one of those teams that often surprise you. You have them finishing down low, and they manage to build some momentum. And Arena Joondalup, particularly for teams out my way south of the river, it's a difficult place to go. It's a long trip, and West Perth make that home ground that's been recently refurbished their own. And I think they'll be tough to beat at Arena Joondalup. They might struggle elsewhere. But yeah, not all's lost for West Perth. A good win. But yeah, I've got some concerns about Claremont as well, where their goals are going to come from. And Bo Maister kicked 3, but I think I read today he's suspended for their next match. They've got the bye in round 2. But yeah, an incident in the game on Saturday has seen him pick up a suspension. So not good news for the Tigers.
No, not at all. What we'll do, JL, is we'll look to wrap it up, mate, and we'll get some predictions from yourself. Who have you got for the Sandover this year?
Well, I was saying the other day, I've got Matt Riggio from Swans as my tip. He's just a wonderful ball user and a wonderful ball winner. But having seen Reece Palmer firsthand, I have to say he's right up there as well. So I'll stick with Matt Riggio for now, but don't be surprised if Reece Palmer takes that to Sandover this year.
No dramas, mate. And can you see anyone knocking off Peel this year to stop him from getting the 3-peat?
If it's going to be anyone, it's going to be Subiaco. They've got the strongest squad as far as a WAFL and a WAFL club only is concerned. So if anyone's going to do it, it's Subiaco, and I don't think anyone would begrudge them either.
No, definitely not. No worries, mate. Thank you very much for joining us on the program tonight. It's been fantastic getting your insight and your thoughts on the clubs and what's going on around the grounds. Really appreciate it.
No worries, boys. Enjoy the rest of your night. A pleasure.
Thanks, Jacob. Thanks, mate.
No worries. We'll be back after this.
On VCA 885 FM, where the Valley comes alive, this is In the Sheds. If you've got something to say about the show or something happening in your community, contact us via Facebook. Back soon. This is In the Sheds with Albie, Brucey and Donny. Check us out on Facebook or Twitter at The Sheds 885.
That's right, you're in the Sheds. You can hit us up on Twitter at the Sheds 885, or you can send us a message on Facebook. Thanks again to Jacob Landsmeer for joining us and discussing the WAFL and giving us his thoughts and opinions. As we pointed out, he pretty much runs WAFL WA, so as far as the media is concerned. So really good to hear his input on it. Well, we'll stick with the theme of the WAFL now and just move into the tips. Make sure you jump online with the ESPN tipping and go head to head with the greatest minds that this room has to offer.
There's 6 people with perfect rounds last week, so there's a lot to live up to.
So, there's a couple of spuds.
My AFL tipping's dead. I've pretty much given up on that.
It's the only thing you're failing in, Brucey, honestly.
Yeah,
you're
I
top
got
of
2.
Everything else.
Yeah, no.
But 2 out of 4.
2.
Yeah.
Who did you pick, honestly?
I don't know. I picked my nose better than I picked my footy tip, and I know that was ordinary.
Well, we'll start with East Fremantle, so Jacob's team, the Sharks taking on the Perth Demons. 2 teams that were both better than expected in round 1. How does this one go?
Mate, I've got to go for East Freo on this one. I just can't see the Demons. I know what they were saying, that they want Perth to do better for the future of the WAFL, but I just can't see them doing better, and I think the Sharks are going to win this one easy.
Yeah, I'll go with East Fremantle.
I've convinced him.
I've got East as well. I thought they performed fairly well against Peel Thunder from what I heard. So
I think that's unanimous then.
Unanimous.
East Perth against West Perth.
Yeah, I can't see the Royals bouncing back. I'm going Falcons, as much as that hurts to say.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. So I'll pick West Perth, but yeah, you can't see East Perth coming back from that so quick. So West Perth.
You need to pick an upset here.
What's happening? What's happening with East Perth? We asked that question. Where are they? Where are they? I can't believe. I'm going West Perth as well. I can't.
Well, it seems like everyone's on the same page. This one might split a few because there might be some hearts involved. Swan Districts against Pearl Thunder.
Swans.
Yeah, I've gone Swans. Home ground.
I'm on the Ducks, mate. I don't.
Well, I've gone Swan Districts as well. So everyone's gone with their heart and hasn't gone with the defending champs. Everyone's backing Swan Districts to beat the 2-time defending premiers. Interesting.
They won't be able to match the Canberra power of the Canberra.
Yeah, that's it.
Probably the biggest game and the match of the round is the 2 teams that were the 2 best teams all season last year. It was a travesty that they didn't play each other in the grand final. But first game of the year for South Fremantle, they take on Subiaco.
I've got to go Subi. I want to say South Freo, but I've got to go Subi. You cannot tip against a side that just won by that, just scored 188. How do you tip against that? It doesn't matter who they're playing. You cannot tip against them now.
Bulldogs are fresh.
Oh, yeah. I'm with Wiz. You've got to go the Lions. I mean, until they lose, after that win, you've got to stick with them, don't you?
No, I've got to go. I'm going Souths.
Yeah, here we go. We've got
Subiaco.
Based on what?
And that's why we've got 2 out of 4 last year.
I'm basing it on Subiaco. Their legs are tired from kicking so many goals that they will be leg weary. And Souths, they're fresh. They're ready to go.
Leather poisoning.
I'm going Subi. I think they had the wood on South Fremantle every game last year, and I think they'll maintain the wood on them again. So I'm going Subi.
You mock me, but you will see.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, with your NRL tipping, it's probably likely that South Fremantle are going to get up and win or something, you know.
Is that what it was called? My NRL
Your NRL.
soothsaying. There's a Ouija board out there.
We'll get into we'll do the AFL next, so we'll move into the AFL tips. How'd we go last year? I think it was Sophie Brown had a amazing week in the tipping comp last week. Got 8 out of 9.
She got 8 out of 9.
She got 8 out of 9.
And got the first game of the week wrong, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think got the first game of the week
Richmond
wrong.
versus Adelaide.
Yeah.
That was the
She's got
only
8 out of 9.
8
Yes.
out of 9.
Sorry, Sophie, you're either a genius or you have no idea what football is.
So yeah, she's well. You're probably right in having no idea because she only got 4 the week before. So even though she got 8, she's tied for the lead with Brucey and Sharon and Maddie C. So
There you go.
we've got a bit of a logjam at the top at the moment. We'll start with Carlton Collingwood.
Do I have to tip this?
Yeah, who cares?
I've written this down. Do I have to tip this? Seriously? Do I care?
Can you tip a
Do
draw?
I care?
Can you tip a draw?
Well, because I didn't want to tip Collingwood, and I've given up on tipping Carlton.
Yeah,
so I'm going Collingwood.
You're going
I'm
Collingwood?
going Collingwood.
Yeah, I'm going the Pies as well. I think they'll be too good for the Blues, unfortunately.
Well, I've gone the Blues because I want to see Buckley lose again.
Oh, wouldn't it just be beautiful?
That would be
I've gone
great.
Collingwood. I think they were a lot better last week, and Carlton were awful.
Just on that, do you know Eddie Maguire compared Buckley to Kevin Sheedy as a coach?
He did not.
He did, mate, he did.
Tongue in cheek, surely.
What, as far as his name is coach? His name's,
Yeah. Oh, I have no idea.
just quickly on that one, I don't know what the NRL equivalent is, but this is a very big tipping point for both of those clubs. Because
Yep.
I don't care if you employ Buckley for another 2 years or you do whatever you want to do, mate, this is it, because this is 3-zip.
Mate, and these two teams, both of them, they don't care if they don't win another game this year. They just want to beat each other.
Yep.
3-zip.
There's already been rumour out of 882 as well that there will be a coach walking in the next couple of weeks. And that wasn't sacked, that was walking away.
Yeah, good
So
one.
it'll be interesting. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going the Pies, unfortunately.
Yep. I think this one might be unanimous. I'll be surprised if it's not. Port Adelaide and the Brisbane Lions.
Yeah, got to go Power.
Port.
You can't nod on radio, mate. You've got to say
It's the theatrics. It's the leading. That's what you need to do. Is
Oh, there was a pause.
they're listening. Yeah, that's what it was.
It was a dramatic
It was a
pause.
pause. It was a pause.
Yeah.
So Port,
Yes, Port, please. Yes, Port.
are you sure that's Port?
Yes. No, yes, it is Port. Yes.
Okay. Demons, Kangaroos.
Oh, jeez.
Kangaroos, how good were they last week?
They were terrible.
I-
They might have won, but they were absolutely
No,
woeful.
they were
That was
the-
the worst game of football I've ever seen in my life.
Best team in the competition based on the way they played in that game. St Kilda were pretty good.
Yes.
I can't even get
in
a straight
saying that,
face.
I've picked Melbourne.
Yeah, no, I picked the Demons. I can't see the North backing it up 2 weeks in a row.
I'm on Melbourne as well. So
Yeah, and that one's unanimous too. I'm with you. So this next one I think is a really interesting one. Gold Coast are technically the home team, but at Optus Stadium, so because of the Commonwealth Games,
Yep.
they've taken one of their home games to the opposition's home ground,
which has cost them 1.2 million.
I'm sure it'll make them some money, but
I'd
from a
be-
footballing perspective, it can't make too much sense.
Does that mean that the Gold Coast get first dibs on members, and Fremantle's limited on how many members they can actually have go into the game? Because that would be
the cheer squad.
Yeah, they've basically got the cheer squad section and then 5 Gold Coast Suns fans in the rest of the stadium.
Yeah, I don't know how that'll work, but they were talking about only 30,000 being there for whatever reason. But so yeah, maybe there is some sort of limit.
There would be more Gold Coast Suns players than fans in this state. If they were to do that.
Yes. In saying that, the undefeated Gold Coast Suns, can they keep it going?
No, Dockers.
Look, you know what? I'll go with the upset and I'll go Gold Coast just because Freo thinks they're amazing at the moment. So
I'm on Gold Coast.
yeah,
I'm on Gold Coast. I think we've seen a little bit of Chewy Jews turn things around up there, and they're going to take it on the road.
yeah.
Yeah, I think being on the road constantly for 6 weeks or whatever it is, I think that's got to take it out of you. And a road trip to Perth after you've been on the road for the last 3 weeks, the game in Cairns, that's not their home, so that they're all over the place. I think eventually the toll's got to show, and I think we'll see it in this game. I'm going Freo.
And that's why I picked Freo. If it was over Metricon, I would have gone Gold Coast.
Yeah, I think Hill's a big loss for Freo as well. Lynch will be leather poisoning from kicking his 8 goals. I don't think he'll kick 8 this week. I think Ross will kill someone if he kicks 8 this week.
I'm watching Hill. I went to the game last week, and I'm watching Hill roll around the ground, and I'm like, he's done. He's done his knee. He's grabbing his knee. Looking, he's done. Waiting for the stretcher to come out. Next minute, he's up.
He's
jogging off the ground, and 5 minutes later, he's there running around again. I'm like, what's going on here? He's rolling around like he'd been shot. I literally thought, like,
it's a soccer player,
gone.
Isn't it?
Yeah, obviously.
I have never ever heard in any AFL media medical release he's done a knee injury 1 week.
Yeah, no, completely agree with that. And the other comment made was that you never see them stop play for a player to run off the field.
No, it was.
Yeah, it's either stretcher or he's dead kind of thing. Put the blanket over the top of him and declare a crime scene.
Keep going.
It was bizarre.
All right, on to the next one.
Oh, this is another interesting one for me. Swans against GWS. I think GWS have been fantastic this year. Both of them from Sydney, so even though it's a Swans home game, they're both from Sydney, and yet the Swans start favourites.
Yeah, I've got to go the Giants here as well. I think the Giants are going to be that team that you just have to tip until you can't tip them. Yeah, until they lose. The Swans probably met their matchup against Port, which I think we underestimated how good Port were going to be this year. But Buddy Franklin's basically doing everything for Swans at the moment, and that's what's happened when they've played in grand finals as well. They put so much pressure on Buddy to step up. No one else does anything.
Yeah, I'm going for GWS as well. I think Davis will stop Buddy, and that's Sydney's done at the moment. Like you said, it's all through Buddy.
I'm on the Swans here.
Brucey again, the point of difference in the studio. I'm going Giants. I'm with Albie. I think they're the team you keep tipping until they give you a reason not to.
Yep. Speaking of teams that you tip until they give you a reason not to, here's a team that you don't tip until they give you a reason to. I will be going for the Crows against St Kilda, mate. Until St Kilda gives me a reason to have faith in them once again.
Yeah, I'll go the Crows, and there's no need to say any more about that.
Straight sets here, mate. Yeah. It's all right.
Donnie, what are you tipping?
I can't tip St Kilda after what they dished up last week, mate. That was horrible. Crows.
All right, probably game of the round, Tigers versus Hawks. I've got to go Richmond here, but I reckon it's going to be an absolute cracking game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've gone the Tigers, but like with no conviction though. It's toss of the coin game, I reckon.
I'm on the Hawks. I don't know if anyone watched the Hawthorn-Geelong game on the weekend, but that was just, I don't care about defence. I'm backing myself in that we are going to kick more than you, and we smash it. And that's what they did from the first bounce till the last bit. And unfortunately, we all watched probably the Good Friday game, and our eyes all departed and wanted to go somewhere else. But that was the game of the round. That was the best game I've seen in a long time, the Hawthorn-Geelong. So
it almost deserved to be a draw, didn't it?
Absolutely.
But the Hawthorn just held up. Geelong, they had it in their forward half for that last minute, and they just could not get a score on the board. Hawthorn was so predominant, so strong standing up against them.
And for all the hype around that midfield about Danger Woodfield or whatever they want to call themselves.
Yeah.
And people have bagged Mitchell saying, he just gets crabby. What did he get? He smashed them.
Yeah.
40 sessions,
and 2 goals. And he was by himself. He had one other bloke on there. So, no. I'm on the Hawks.
At least Geelong did join in on the general consensus that you don't need to tag Tom Mitchell. So hopefully one team will actually work out that if you run someone with him, you might not get a million touches.
Yeah, I've tossed the coin too, and I've come up the other side, so I'm going the Hawks. I haven't been that impressed with the Tigers in either of their games, really. I thought they were pretty unimpressive against Carlton. They were probably a bit better against Adelaide, but lost. Hawthorn, I think they've shown a lot of mettle. I think, I'm going to stick with the Hawks in that one.
No worries. Bombers versus the Bulldogs. Probably two of the if it wasn't for St Kilda, we'd probably say the two most underperforming teams from the week. But yeah, both disappointing. But I've got to tip black and red here.
Yeah, I've gone with the Bombers. How can you pick the Bulldogs if you can't?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it, I am going to Essendon, but we were ordinary against Fremantle, but Western Bulldogs were worse.
Yeah.
They're like a red-headed step kid. They just, yeah.
I expected Essendon to be a little bit flat for that game, and they were pretty ordinary. I think the scoreline probably flattered them a little bit in the end.
Oh, mate, we should have
hugely
towards the back end.
All I can say about the Bombers is thank God we're not an interstate side that has to travel every second week, because we would have been relegated out of the AFL by now. We cannot travel. We have not been able to travel for a long time.
Yeah, for me, though, the Bulldogs in the first two rounds have basically done what everyone expected the Kangaroos to do. They've been horrible. They've been very, very bad, so I'm going the Bombers.
No worries. And final game of the round, I think. Yep. West Coast versus Geelong.
First time test to see whether Optus Stadium can, back up night after night and keep having a good time. So, yeah, should be interesting to see how the stadium handles it and the public transport and all that sort of stuff. And vendors got to restock after the Freo game and all that sort of stuff. So there's a few elements to that.
Some quality Albi beer on tap for 2 nights in a row.
That's it. Let's see what happens with that. But I'm sure it'll be a talking
my judgment on quality.
But yeah, I'm going. I think West Coast. I think that Monday game would have taken a lot out of Geelong. I'm going to go West Coast at home.
Yep, sadly I'm picking West Coast.
I'm going the Cats.
Ooh. West Coast for myself.
Cats travel very well over to WA. I think they'll give them a bit of a touch-up. All right, we'll move on to the NRL. We'll try and breeze through these relatively quick. So we can touch base on, talk about the Ellenbrook Speedway and the NRL.
So we've got a couple of strugglers to start with. The Raiders and the Bulldogs. They're not having the best of seasons, either of these teams. How do you see this one going?
Raiders.
Yeah, I think I'll go on the Raiders.
I've got Raiders as well. Yep. No crime and
The Raiders haven't won a game this year, and we're unanimous that they're going to break that against the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
At home, I think it's a fair bet. Sharks against the Roosters, so yeah, both these teams sort of expected to be right up there, and probably neither of them going quite as well as they would like to be.
Yeah,
an important game, I think, for both teams.
I've got Roosters on mine.
Yeah, Roosters for me.
No, Roosters are dead to me after last week. I'm going the Sharks.
Yeah, I'm going the Sharks as well. 30-6, the Roosters belted by the Warriors at home. I think the Sharks are one of those sort of tough, grinding teams that will be hard for the Roosters to play their flashy style against. And they call it the Bermuda Triangle in Cronulla, so strange things happen.
Just gets
there.
lost.
That's it. Dragons, Rabbitohs.
Oh, you got to tip the Dragons until they give you a reason not to.
Yeah.
At the moment.
Yep.
Dragons for me.
They've been fantastic, and it's great to watch.
I was going to say, you're very contained.
Yeah, Dragons for sure. Tigers, Storm.
I've gone Storm. No real reason.
Yeah, I've gone the Storm. Yeah.
I've got the Tigers.
You're a
Well,
Storm?
you backed against you.
Yeah, I'm here to win it. I'm not here to...
Not here, mate.
I need to play favourites. Mind
Yeah.
you, I've backed Essendon.
Well, it's a strange one. These two teams have already played this year, so it's the second time they've played. It was 10-8 to the Tigers in Melbourne. This one's at the Tigers' home ground, so I've got to stick with the Tigers. Warriors, undefeated Warriors against the North Queensland Cowboys.
Oh, Cowboys. Through and through, mate.
Warriors, home ground.
Yes, you know where I am.
Okay, on the Warriors as well. Knights, Broncos.
Look, I'm looking for the Broncos on this one.
Brisbane.
I'm on the Knights.
I'm going the Knights as well. I think at home they're a different team. McDonald Jones Stadium.
Bloody hope so.
Pack out McDonald Jones Stadium, and I think you got the Broncos haven't been that impressive either. They were pretty ordinary last week. Titans, Sea Eagles.
Yeah, I've gone the Sea Eagles on this one.
Yep, Manly for me.
Eagles.
I've gone Manly as well, but not with a great deal of confidence. I think they're very good at home, but last time they were away, it was pretty ugly. So,
to be honest, all these tips I haven't gone into with much confidence.
The one game that I probably am confident about, so I'm probably wrong. The Panthers against the Eels.
Panthers.
Yeah, I go to Panthers.
I'm on the Panthers as well.
Yeah.
What? Just out of interest, what's going on with the Eels?
I don't know.
I haven't had a great deal with the NRL, but they're loveless. And they are just...
I think a lot of people had them as a top 4 team at the start of the year.
Correct.
But they don't look like winning a game. It finished 30-20 on Easter Monday, but that again was a scoreline that flattered them. They scored a couple of tries in the last 2 or 3 minutes to make the scoreline look a lot better than it was. It was 30-6. So, I don't know what's going on, but
I'll do a quick radio static from what I hear is just what I hear on Sport FM, what I read in the newspaper. But they've gone from contesting people having them in their top 4 or 5 to they're loveless. They're just almost like a state league team running around throwing the ball forward.
They're listening to Brucey with his tips. He's leading the tipping comp.
Smashing it.
And
smashing it.
he's tied with my dad, so...
Oh, is that who it is?
Right. Yeah. And
does that make me...
does
that put me up here, or where does this...
He's probably going to throw it because he's going, Jesus, the prize is going to be a signed photo of my kid. Like, I could get that any time.
Yeah, no, it'll be the other one. So.
Yeah, that's it. Right, we'll be back in a moment, and we're going to talk about the Ellenbrook Speedway and the Ellenbrook Rabbitohs. You're in the sheds.
This is In the Sheds with Albie, Brucey and Donny on VCA 885 FM, where the Valley comes alive.
Join Davey every Sunday 4 to 6 p.m. on Radio VCA 88.5 FM for his show Blues in the Valley. If you're a fan of the blues, 88.5 is the place for you.
The Valley comes alive on 88.5 when we travel with Beryl Licence down memory lane every Thursday at 9 a.m.
This is In the Sheds with Albie, Brucey and Donny. Check us out on Facebook or Twitter at The Sheds 885.
That's right, you're in the Sheds. You can hit us up on Twitter. You can send us a message on Facebook and let us know your thoughts on anything that we've discussed tonight, the controversy corner, the blowtorch, your thoughts on the WAFL, the tipping, how terrible you're doing, just like most of us are doing, except for Sophie, who's managed to jag an 8. But, very, very interested to hear your thoughts. We're going to talk about the Ellenbrook Speedway. Now, they've got a meet on the 15th of April, and I'll just confirm that. Ollie, if you can grab us that. There we go. That's how professional we are. 15th of April. The register or nominations for that opened up yesterday. 3rd of April. So you're just continuing with the professionalism right now. But we had the Speedway. We spoke about them towards the end of their season, but it was just as we were starting. So it was on kind of that period where it was about 2-3 weeks where we were able to have Anthony Heelan come on the show and have a chat to us. Looking forward to hearing a bit more about the Speedway this year in Ellenbrook. It's they've been doing a bit of work out there, and it's looking like an exciting season ahead. We've got 20th of May, we've got a 2nd and 3rd of June, 24th of June, 22nd of July, the 5th of August, the 26th of August, 22nd, 23rd of September, then the 13th of October. You know, we've basically got racing all the way through at the moment. Definitely looking forward to it. Daniel Amajuri keen to come on the show at some stage as well, which would be great to have a chat to him. But expecting some big things out of Jason Oldfield. He kind of dominated the last of the races that we spoke about last year. So definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, and it's always a good day too, going down to the Speedway. I don't know if you've ever gone along, but it is a lot of fun. you're starting to see a few of the cars and stuff around as well. So a few people starting to work on their vehicles. I've seen a few getting about the streets on the back of cars, and people starting to get ready. So I think there's more than just us that are starting to get excited about Speedway being back, and looking forward to telling you about it as we get closer to that season opener on the 15th.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I always remember growing up as a kid, the ads were always Friday night is Speedway night, and it was always a big day. Our family, I went to school with the Nylander twins, who are Nylander Racing, are big in the local Speedway as well, and so Speedway was always a big thing, and having a Speedway track right on our back doorstep is absolutely fantastic, and you should definitely take advantage of it if you can. This upcoming season of the Speedway, and like I said, looking forward to having a few of the members and the racers coming on the program and having a chat to what to expect this year. So look forward to that. Donnie, we'll move into the Ellenbrook Rabbitohs. Want to talk about their upcoming season and fixtures?
Yeah, so the Rabbitohs, we'll get into them a little bit later. But I just want to talk about rugby league season is starting, so most of the other comps are kicking off, and NRL WA. Round 1 this Saturday at Dorrien Gardens. It's a quadruple header. There are 4 games of rugby league. Kicks off with the West Coast Pirates, our under-18s team, taking on the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, which should be the last game of the season for our under-18s. And then we've got 3 first-grade games. I don't know that there's any other local competition that has a better way to start their season than this. Three first grade games, all at the same venue, all on the same day. And it gives you a great chance for everyone to get down there, get that real community feel going, and should be a great day. All finishes with the grand final rematch between the Rockingham Sharks and the Fremantle Roosters. But both teams should be fielding very different teams, with the Sharks losing a heap of players, and amazingly, we're heading into round 1 and we're talking about injuries. They've got Tyler Hunt and Brendan Wright's out injured. The Roosters have got Dwayne Butler, Tapuna Sellers, they're all out injured. So heading into round 1, everyone's sort of worked a bit too hard during pre-season, and they're carrying a few injuries. For the Pirates, just mentioned their game last week as well. So they took on the Western Suburbs Magpies and had their closest game of the year. So we've been talking about 50-0 drubbings most of the season, but 22-10 was the loss to the Magpies, so a really good effort from the kids to head out there and give it their best, but unfortunately came up just short. And while we're trying to sort of sell the fact that they've got another game coming up this weekend, they're not too much chance of beating the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs are a top 8 team, and they should beat us pretty comfortably, although the Bulldogs have got a West Australian kid playing for them as well, Jackson Topany, making his way back to WA to pull our pants down more than likely. And now on to the Ellenbrook Rabbitohs. So the reserve grade fixtures are out, so the senior draws have been completed. We're still waiting on the under-18s and the third grade draws, because there's a few teams that aren't too sure whether they're going to be in the comps yet. So we'll focus on the reserve grade. A lot of debate about the draws. So the competition, we've got 6 teams in first grade, we've got 7 teams in reserve grade, and up to 9 teams in the third grade competition. So you imagine trying to put together a draw where all the teams sort of stay together. It's a nightmare. So there's been 2 or 3 different drafts of the draw, and what we've ended up with is still not perfect. And I think probably the worst thing for our club is the fact that we actually start the season with 2 byes. So there's 7 teams in the comp. So obviously someone's got to have a bye, but for whatever reason, to work the draw out, we've started with 2 byes, which is not when you want your byes.
And then, no more byes for the rest of the year? Or?
So we've got another bye in round 11, and then the very last round of the season, which again is not overly ideal.
Stitched up twice.
Yes. It's not ideal for us either, because it's going to be a couple of weeks before we're even talking about results for the reserve grade.
Yeah.
And the coaches will be dying to find out what they're putting out in the park. Like you'd be chomping to get out there and play.
Is that the same for every other team as well? Or?
Well, yeah, every team will have 4 buys during the year, but yes, certainly not the
not
first.
Not to bookend them, but
no.
Two buys in a row. That's a bit rough.
It hasn't worked out overly well for us, but the way they have worked it out means that we do get an extra home game, which is, I suppose, the compensation for stuffing it around at the start of the year.
Yeah.
So we've got 6 home games. The first home game's the 12th of May, so round 4. First game's the 5th of May, so it's still a fair way off before we actually, as you say, get into it and get started and get talking about it. But we'll be well and truly into footy season before they even start. So first home game, though, against the Fremantle Roosters. And then a couple of weeks, so the 26th of May, the 9th of June, 21st of July, and then the 11th and 18th of August are the home games. So that's
fantastic. We'll definitely look forward to promoting those and having a chat and seeing the results, and we'll obviously get someone from the Rabbitohs to come and have a chat as the season progresses. Ollie, you've been very patient. You came in to do your tipping. We kind of brushed over and didn't give you a chance to take aim, and we've got a few minutes left. So, Ollie, who's on the agenda for today?
It'd have to be the Collingwood fans, supporters, whatever, Joffa and his cronies. As you know, Port Adelaide have taken the lead and got the In Excess Never Tear Us Apart song that they played before the games, sing that united hand in hand. You know, it's pretty big buzz around the ground. Obviously following on from Liverpool in the Premier League. So Collingwood, not to be outdone, thought they'd come out with their own, so they've gone with Metallica's Nothing Else Matters, and I don't know if you've seen it.
Oh no. You're kidding me?
They held up this big banner saying Nothing Else Matters. They played the song before the game, and it was just flat. The crowd was just flat. It was cringeworthy. It was really, really poor, and you just go, I hope you guys scrap that in a hurry. I mean,
the whole idea about the song before the game, English Premier League, Chelsea or Liverpool or anything else, we're forever blowing bubbles, whatever they are, it's a sing-along.
Yeah.
Nothing Else Matters is not a sing-along
It's not
song.
a sing-along.
It's not a sing-along.
No, it's quite a depressing, sad song
Correct.
as well. Maybe
inspiring.
I reckon what we need to do, and maybe we should unveil it next week, but is get people to write in at the Sheds 885. What song do you think would suit the Collingwood cheer squad?
Oh, come on. We're not doing that.
Yeah, come on, we got it. Surely, write in. Tell us what song should Collingwood have, and we'll send it off to Bucks and go Bucks. I mean, we won't.
The Wenger bus.
Bucks won't be there anymore. We'll send it to Joffa. He'll always be there. Bucks won't be there for much longer. The Wenger bus. That's not a bad one. That'll pipe them all up.
It's better than Nothing Else Matters. I mean, geez, if you had seen it, you really...
Girls just want to have fun.
Yeah, there we go. The Bengals, get something out there.
Walk like an Egyptian.
Yeah. Well, they're not walking like football players. So.
Oh, that's it.
Oh, fantastic.
If you've got an opinion or you've got a song you want to pick out for Collingwood,
Jimmy, you've got to have a song, mate.
Jimmy will rock you. We'll definitely come up with a Collingwood supporter soundtrack that I'm sure will be super. It'll just be absolutely brilliant. Maybe we'll dedicate.
We'll play it. We'll play it
next
in the
week.
lead-in.
Next week's episode, we might have to play a few Collingwood dedicated songs. I'm sure Jimmy will sort that out for us. Jimmy will rock you. He's pretty much the Basil Zemphlis of our program, of our station. But Jimmy will rock you. Jimmy rocks you. Pretty much whichever show you like. But I'm sure he'll look after us.
Just lastly, I think it'd have to be REM. This is the end of the world as we know it for Bucks.
It is the end of the world for Bucks.
He'd be happy.
Yeah, he feels fine because he just signed a 2-year deal, so he knows he's going to get paid out regardless. So he's all happy and smiles for him. Thanks again for joining us. Thank you to Jacob Landsmeer. Thanks to Ollie coming down and doing your footy tips. Thanks to Sophie Brown for making us all look bad and scoring an 8 in the footy tipping.
If she can back it up, though, I'll be impressed.
Yeah, that's it. Look, next week, very excited. We're going to have
An ex-AFL.
Ex-WAFL. South Bulldogs player, but used to play for the Ellenbrook Eels. We'll talk about that a bit
Played
later
for Swan
on.
Districts.
Played for Swan Districts. He's a favourite son of ours that we're happy to...
Who am I on Sale of the Century?
It will be, yeah. You just have to tune in next week and find out who it is. We'll probably say something during the week anyway, but and blow the surprise. But make sure you tune in next week. We'll be talking the WAFL tipping once again. See how we go with our terrible tipping. The season's kicked off. We'll have round one results for the footy and for the soccer and the hockey. So definitely looking forward to that. You've been listening to In the Sheds, and we'll catch up with you next week. If I can click the close button.
On VCA 885 FM, where the Valley comes alive, you've been listening to In the Sheds with Albie, Brucey and Donny. Check us out on Facebook or Twitter @The Sheds 885. See you 6:30 next Wednesday.